Hello again there, Walking Dead fans. This is the Z-Man Show coming to you with episode 12 for season 8. It's called The Key. And so we're going to have spoilers here moving through, so we're going to talk a little bit about the episode and some of the decisions that went down. So here we go. So Negan welcomes Dwight back and basically expects his full participation as they move forward to try and start infecting and making a statement with the Hilltop peeps. So they're slicing their zombies at their gullets and getting their weapons, arrows, hatchets, and everything else coated in zombie guts. Pretty cool. Dwight tries to get away to warn Hilltop, but Simon kind of catches him before he gets away on his bike and tells Dwight to ride shotgun with him as this convoy moves out from the sanctuary. So Negan decides to ride solo in his, what looks to be probably a Dodge Charger. Interesting move, but all the same, that's where they head off. Back at Hilltop, Rick reunites with Judith, the last of his true family, and says his last goodbyes at Carl's grave. Daryl and Rick have kind of a moment and a talk as Daryl tries to apologize to partially maybe justify why he did what he did at the sanctuary, that he just wanted to wipe them out. Rick actually agrees with Daryl, and he just says repeatedly that he's ready, meaning he's ready to make the move to pretty much annihilate all of the saviors. Doesn't matter if they're technically good or bad or whatever, they just want to kill them all. And I can't really help but think that a lot of what's gone down is really Daryl's fault. I mean, I like Daryl a lot, but I mean, he went against the grain, he went against the plan, and it totally effed everybody over, big time. And it's now, shoved them back into a corner. Now, again, this did not cause Carl to get bitten, did not cause Carl's death. That was all pretty much on Carl's decision to save Sadiq. But all the same, Daryl, the story, it just tends to glaze right over Daryl's mistakes and gives him a free pass. So I'm not so sure I would have, but maybe Rick just feels like, well, we got to move forward. We know what needs to be done, so let's just do it. So back at the sanctuary convoy, Simon decides to get weird, as he calls it, and start talking about the future of Hilltop and the warning they're about to deliver. Simon clearly realizes that Rick and Maggie's group do not scare easily, or scare at all for that matter, and that there really is no reasoning with them. Although I do not want to, have the Saviors win or even side with them, Simon is completely right. I mean, these people cannot be dealt with. If I were Simon, or Negan for that matter, they would need to wipe out the colony. Just get rid of them, because they're always going to revolt and there will never be any kind of peace whatsoever. But all the same, so they have this conversation as they're driving in the convoy in this truck, and so Rick manages to spot Negan in his Charger, and then somehow manages to get alongside down another alleyway and rams him off from the convoy. And so clearly you love the curiosity that's in Rick's eyes as he's trying to run him down. Simon convinces his crew to move on and that him and Dwight will go and try to help Negan out. But yet the full smirk on his face, which I mentioned in last week's episode from the sneak peek, that smirk on Simon's face just screams like he doesn't care if Negan lives or dies. Well, in fact, he wants him to die so he can hopefully take over. So Simon convinces his crew to move on and that him and Dwight will go help Negan out. And then Negan flips his car and Rick unleashes hell with what looks to be like an AK-74 automatic. And unfortunately, no matter how many bullets he shot, he could not get Negan. Negan has like literally 50 lives. I mean, you just cannot get this guy. It was a very intense chase scene on foot as Rick runs out of bullets and then thinks he has Rick at a standoff when he's at the top of these stairs. And Rick completely launches his hatchet up towards Negan, and as Negan dodges, he loses his balance and falls down, I don't know, a story and a half, 2 stories worth, into this darkness, below. Amazingly enough, Negan barely suffers a scratch from all of this. And basically him and Rick do a banter back and forth, Negan talking about how it's saving the people and others, and how Rick just could still be part of that. Still trying to convince him, offering him a one-time final deal, as well as forgiveness, and only 25% of goods instead of the normal 50%, which, I gotta admit, does sound pretty nice. Only problem is as many people as Rick has killed, and their whole crew is killed from the Saviors, and all the thorns and Negan's side. I mean, how could you even trust Negan at this point? I mean, I wouldn't, but, either way, so Rick pretty much is not on board with this. He informs Negan about basically Simon murdering the entire Jadis community, the Junkster peoples, and you can totally see that Negan is just pissed beyond all belief on that one. So you better hope that he doesn't catch back up with Simon anytime soon. And then with Sweet Karma, Rick finds Lucille, the bat of Negan. Oh, baby, baby. So Rick lays it all on the line, and he lights the bat on fire and starts crashing down some of these boards that was on a room that was labeled like eaters or whatever, and you can totally hear a ton of walkers on the other side of it. And as he starts to bang it down, Negan yells out, "Don't touch her," and runs around and just totally crashes into Rick and through the door like bats out of hell. And some walkers start catching fire from Rick hitting them with the bat, and more continue to pour through. The two managed to escape out of this situation. It was very intense. It was very cool, but just barely. And by the time Rick gets out, because Negan got out first, Negan is nowhere to be found. We'll get back to that in just a little bit. Meanwhile, back with Simon and Dwight searching for Negan. Simon tries to convince Dwight that he has ideas on how to save the Saviors, and how they could branch out to make new contacts and make those hard decisions to ensure the Sanctuary and Saviors' survival. I am surprised Dwight didn't just decide to leave Negan just right away. I mean, what is it truly in his benefit to even help him or keep him alive? If his true desires are to help Hilltop, which they do seem to, because there's a lot of scenes of him contemplating, like, I gotta get there. I gotta warn these guys what's coming. So Simon is clearly fine with leaving Negan behind and taking over leadership. Although he makes comments about how we are all still Negan and this and that, he knows he wants to lead for sure. So finally, Dwight agrees and sets Negan's car on fire. There's also kind of a cool naked zombie in the background. Kind of neat. They say it was naked. I mean, it was covered in so much dirt and blood and whatnot. You can't really tell either way. But either way, they're naked zombie. Simon and Dwight get back to their crew and tell them that Negan is gone. I did that in quotes. Perhaps not dead, but still gone nonetheless. Simon tells his crew that they must obliterate and erase Hilltop and all of the survivors, because there's going to be no terms or quarter for this crew. I mean, they will not listen, they will not obey. So he's ready to kill them all. Dwight is clearly conflicted by this, and he knows he has to get back to Hilltop somehow. But right at this moment, I have no idea how he's going to be able to do that. Yeah. So either way, moving forward, Maggie spots, while back at the Hilltop, Maggie spots some kind of message out in the fields just in front of Hilltop. And they find a note that tells Hilltop if they fill like 4 crates of food and get a crate full of like some musical records, that this mysterious group will give them this key to their future, whatever that may be. So here we go again with the group not sticking to the full plan and going off on yet another goose chase that will probably ultimately jack things up. I don't understand, or I should say I do understand that when opportunity knocks, you have to take those chances, but I just don't know these days, with the decisions and what's happened from all their little one-off situations. So the 4 leading ladies, so it's Enid, Rosita, Maggie, and Michonne, they all head off to meet these mysterious peeps. And when they get there, they see this larger kind of van vehicle, huge 4x4 type thing, and these 3 ladies are out front. And the main one out in front, her name's Georgie, and she's offering knowledge for the food and the records. So very, very weird. It's like, what are these guys about? And the 2 psychics are even weirder because they're just kind of like not making these random comments, kind of like playing off of Georgie's comments. It's kind of weird. But so Maggie decides to draw weapons on them and basically take them back, all of them back to Hilltop, just to see, I guess, how to make their next move. So I'm just all bits confused on this one, but again, we'll move forward with it for now. So once back at Hilltop, Michonne is hellbent on letting them go before the Saviors get there. Maggie and Enid take sides and say that they should just take their stuff. Michonne makes a good point that Carl saved Sadiq, and now they have a doctor, making those choices for humanity rather than just taking and killing. Enid actually steps up to Michonne, and Michonne has to tell Enid to step back pretty much out of her face. And, Enid, she does. She's mad, obviously. She's enraged because Carl's dead. She's lost so much. I can appreciate Michonne's logic, though. It presents a 50-50 chance, really, of it backfiring on Hilltop. We just don't know. And I guess those aren't great odds. But, I mean, if they don't start to try and trust anyone, they'll never progress. They'll never move forward. So Maggie decides actually to give in. And by an act of graciousness, the lead mysterious woman, Georgie, changes the deal, but for the better, and says that she'll give them, or if they get the crate of music records, that they'll give them actually some food that they already have in their van, and then I think they're going to give them some more additional food from their storages. And of course, this seems almost to be too good to be true, but seems legit at the moment. But then again, it always usually does. So Georgie also gives Maggie a book that includes schematics and plans to build silos, aqueducts, and all kinds of medieval structures and ideas, but that are still workable structures for the future of these colonies. So, I mean, it seems like Georgie and their crew could be legit, but again, I mean, how do you really know? How can you trust these people? They're just going to have to give it a shot and see what happens and hope that by the showing of force that Maggie is formidable, that their crew have weapons, and that they know how to handle themselves, that they're not to be messed with. So hopefully that helps in their favor. The final scene of the show shows Negan passed out riding passenger in a car. And you can't quite see the driver, but then as the camera quickly starts to pan to the side, you see that it's Jadis, the once leader of the Junkster Peeps, who are no more because Simon murdered all of them. So, what's Jadis going to do? I don't know. Negan starts to laugh, and she pistol whips his ass and knocks him out. So he's going to have some serious ass kissing to do if he thinks Jadis is going to even partially let him live. Personally, I think she's probably going to use him for some kind of trading power. I know some might think that, since Rick left her for dead and put a shot in her direction, that maybe she doesn't trust Rick. But I'm thinking that she probably doesn't want to be alone and will probably try and use Negan as a bargaining chip to let her in to their colony. And I gotta be honest, if it was me, I'd let her into the colony if she brought Negan to my doorstep. I think that's definitely a possibility. So overall, I think I give this episode a 7.5. I mean, it had some really cool things going on. It was exciting. Nothing overly crazy, but still building the story as we move along. Hopefully finding some kind of, not ending necessarily to Negan's story, but kind of pushing him in one direction or the other. I mean, is he going to get pushed, out of the sanctuary? Is he going to join Rick's crew? Is Rick going to kill him? I mean, there's a lot of different options that the story could take, and they probably will not follow the comics, I imagine, just because they're really trying to separate themselves, it seems. So I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation here. Make sure to put any comments you have down below. Like and subscribe, please. We're trying to build our channel. We're actually going to have an episode out in just a day or two for the Cloverfield Paradox that came out, I think it was late 2017. But either way, we're going to talk just briefly the other two Cloverfield movies, Cloverfield and then 10 Cloverfield Lane, and then we're going to talk a lot more about the Cloverfield Paradox movie and what we thought about the series of movies and so far and how they've been doing. So again, hope you enjoyed, and we'll talk to you guys next time. See ya.